If you're wondering, should I sell my house now? You need to watch this first. By the end of this video, you should have some real clarity around whether or not now is the time to sell your home. And if you do stick around to the end, I got 5 awesome tips I'm going to share with you to make sure your home is show ready. So let's jump in. If you're thinking about putting your home in the market, there are a lot of things you need to consider, and even why you're doing it in the first place. You know, are you relocating for work? Is there a divorce, unfortunately? You get a new job you need to move for. So understanding where you're going and why you're going there, and maybe how fast you need to sell, is one of the most important things you can figure out, because it's going to help you pick the actual price which you put your home on the market for. And that is, above all else, the biggest thing you can actually control. So the housing market itself is always going to be the biggest factor on what you actually are going to see for a net value. You cannot go outside of these limitations. The market's usually very clear. And when you hire a professional, we are going to make sure that you are seeing all the comparables. You're going to see the adjustments we've made for square footage, beds, bathrooms, and making sure you enter your property on the market at a very, not necessarily aggressive, but the right price is going to be one of the best strategies you can have. So if you are living in Saskatchewan and selling your home in Saskatchewan, one of the nicest things we have here is we don't have the same ebbs and flows as you're going to find in the Ontario and British Columbia markets, which has been nice. We don't necessarily see the same growth cycles that you would see in some of those larger centers, but we also don't see the downturns as much either. I don't want to say we're recession proof, but overall, the last few times Saskatchewan has proved itself to be quite resilient. And we see very low drops and like I said, very low increases. So over the last few months, we've actually seen an increase. If you're looking at Regina as a whole, values are actually on the rise, not on the way down, which is actually setting the stage for a nice combined market between buyer and seller. So as a seller, it's nice because it's not getting as crazy. You have the time to put it on there and have a few less showings with more serious purchasers that are coming through the home. And for a buyer, it's also nicer now because they don't have to rush as much. It gives them time to actually get some conditions in place, properly get their home inspection done, get their financing in place. And when they have a little more time and breathing room to get this stuff done, I've actually found that usually the sale process, like start to finish, goes that much smoother for the seller as well. Now, as far as when to put your property on the market, that's another question. Typically speaking, and this is not a steadfast rule, the only real slow months that I've experienced are usually July, believe it or not, and that kind of January, from kind of Christmas to the end of January phase. Outside of those windows, it's usually pretty decent. Typically speaking, most people want to put their homes up in the spring, and that's not always just because that's actually the best time. I think it's just more of like, that's what you think you're supposed to do. So we always see an influx of properties in the spring. March, April, May, and even into June are probably the busiest 4 months of the year, but it's also the busiest time. So as I previously mentioned there, with buyers trying to rush in and everything else, you're going to get a lot more showings, and it doesn't necessarily mean that those buyers are actually more qualified. When properties are listed in the wintertime and buyers are looking in the wintertime, those buyers are usually a lot more intentional. If they're looking in those seasons where less desirable because it's cold out and snowy and everything else, and they're still house shopping, they probably need to move, right? They need to actually get a house that wintertime. So between seller and buyer, sometimes listing in the wintertime, when you have less inventory to compete with as well, it can actually be very, very positive for the overall experience as a seller. Before we go any further, I'd like to do something a little fun, and I'm curious where you are from. Go down in the comments section and drop your hometown in there. One of the biggest questions I always get is now the right time to sell your home? The short answer is yes. Even though we just came out of a pretty dramatic increase to interest rates over the last couple of years, and we're sitting closer to 5% on the 5-year fixed, Saskatchewan has still been chugging along very nicely. Like I said, we've gone up in value, and right now we're actually pretty low in inventory. Properties that are coming on the market that are being very aware of the market's expectations and they're pricing them correctly are selling very quickly, close to list price, sometimes even better. And the last couple of properties we put up in the Regina area, we've seen competing offers in the first couple of days on them. So it's been pretty exciting. And I would say that yes, now, if you're thinking about putting your house in the market, don't wait. So as promised, here are the top 5 things that I think you should do to get your home show ready. So number 5 is making sure that the home doesn't have any damaged finishes. And what I mean by that is I don't want to see anybody go and do a brand new granite kitchen unless they're renovating the whole house. So we're looking at going in there. If you got a damaged countertop, maybe we're going to go to a modest laminate countertop, replace it. If you have an older linoleum floor, but it's in good shape still, I have seen more times than not, people do extra work and improvements to the home and they don't get it back dollar for dollar. In my opinion, you're always best to do enough to make sure the home looks good and is in good shape, and price the home accordingly to the condition. Number 4, a fresh coat of paint, and not just paint. Homes see a lot of wear and tear throughout the years, especially if you have kids, and the walls tend to get a little nicked up over the months and years. You want to hire, unless you're good at it, hire a drywaller or a professional painter. The painter themselves usually will offer skim coating to get the walls in good shape before they put that coat of paint on. And they're also going to do a good job when they're painting, so not to hit the ceiling, and make sure that paint goes on nice and even. Not only are you going to get that nice fresh look, you're also going to get a nice smell in the home, and it's going to smell like a newer, more inviting home. Number 3, staging the home. This one is a little more challenging, as professional stagers can be expensive. If possible, what we recommend, especially if you're buying a house and selling at the same time, which we do quite a lot of, is trying to get the photo and video of your existing home before you move into your new one. So many times when you're buying a house anyways, there's a 30-day gap in between your possession day of your existing house and the one you're buying. You usually get the one you buy first. So get those photos done, get it nice and clean and ready to go, photos, video, then start moving into your new house. Once you're moved out, then we can put the house on the market. And the photos are always going to look more inviting, and the staged home tends to always look bigger. If you cannot stage the home, the furniture is already out and it is a vacant home, we can actually stage homes virtually. Using certain companies, we can pay to have that house staged and look inviting. Just a little note there, we do have to make a disclaimer so the public knows it has been virtually staged. Number 2, and one of the most important, is decluttering the house. People tend to get very comfortable in their environments. The longer we're in a space, the less we notice the little clutter throughout the home. Relying on either a stager or your realtor to go through and make some suggestions is going to be a very huge advantage to you. We want as little on countertops and in the spaces as possible, as clutter tends to make a person feel anxious, and it also can make a space feel smaller. Number 1, and the most important thing, it may seem like the easiest, most straightforward item, but having your home clean. Hiring a professional cleaner is worth its weight in gold and cannot be replaced in any way. Having somebody come in, cleaning all those windows, countertops, walls, bathrooms, floors, I mean everything. So having someone come in for the better part of a day is going to make one of the biggest difference on your showings going well. And not only are your photos, video, and oftentimes we do 3D virtual tours, this is your 24-hour open house that people are seeing. So those photos are going to look really good. But usually it's the first week to 2 weeks where you're going to see the most traffic. When someone walks into a nice, clean house that smells fresh, it's going to leave a really good impression on them. That's all I have for you today. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to this channel so that you're notified when I release more content. And do me a favor, share this video. If you ever have any questions on the real estate market in Saskatchewan, or you're looking to sell or buy a home, please always give me a call first. My number is 306-351-9111, and you can further find my contact details in the write-up.